Everything needs to go clear on
No, it's the announcement letter. It's the one that what's called wife typed up. Could turn that down. That's why I don't like doing a lot of stuff through the mail. Really just take it yourself. St. Paul is not a high demand city, so everything nothing goes through here that much. Omaha is a big city. It's probably worse than North Dakota.
You get this little nasty
Jerry is not saying if you're either going west coast, which probably goes through the two cities because it's going to the big cities. I don't know. We'll figure it. They'll tell us now. We'll find out here. It's, I got my payroll has payroll at Good Income has posted. I got a check for $30 from. I can cash in and give it to you. $60. That's like my payroll has not posted, but they gave me this morning. I can go cash this and give you at least 30 of it. No, this is from Knights of Columbus. No, this is for all those meals I'll be bringing. We can cash it after. You just like shots, man. I'm going to turn this one off. So I don't want to interrupt this meeting.
where we're at. We've been 15 years. Are we company kind of
No.
that way for 15 years?
I do it in reimbursement.
Yeah.
Because I'm the something. I'm second in command. Middle of the month? Maybe 12 o'clock. Catholics. Colonel.
All right, everybody, we are going to go ahead and get started once we get the mics all switched on. And I remember being 13 years old and just thinking that the Postal Service was the best value in American history. I just, for 25 cents in Fort Pierre, I could send a letter to my grandma and my grandpa in Rapid City, and it would be there the next day in many cases. I just thought for 25 cents, I was mystified. I thought, how do they do it? How are they this good? And now in the story that I think we're going to hear today, I have lots saying, how did they do it? How did it get this bad? And indeed, it's been a quick change, right? And we all understand. There were going to be changes to the system. Changes were needed. We have seen mail volumes come down 80%. You're not going to have the exact same system when those are your volumes as opposed to what they used to be. I was never opposed to changes. I think the problem was most every single thing that USPS has tried seems to have moved us more towards systemic failure. I'll be clear, I'm not blaming the letter handlers. I think the part of the system that works best is the unbelievable guy who comes to my door and hands me my mail if the package is too big for my mailbox. He's professional, he seems to be working hard, he smiles. That part still works. This is not about the men and women in the blue on our streets. This is about the total failure of leadership and the system that they have erected. And so today, the real stars of the show are going to be the men and women who have written into us, who called into us, who let us know that the system is failing them. And we're going to hear a lot from them. But I got to tell you, I'm also really excited to have Pete Sessions, who is the chair of the panel that oversees the Postal Service in the United States Congress. Pete is a senior member who is highly respected. He was first elected to the U.S. House from Texas in 1997, elected in 96, took office in 97. As a guy who's been a former head of the Prestigious Rules Committee and now understands the importance of the United States Postal Service to this country and is trying to figure out a way forward. And his efforts, our efforts, are going to be informed by the stories that we are going to hear today. And so without any, and he knows he's mostly here to listen, but he also wants to share some of his thoughts, and I begged him to share some of his thoughts. So without any further ado, let's go to Congressman Sessions and tell us a little bit about the way forward, sir. Okay, we have technical problems. I guess we should
We have the congressman, we're ready for him if he's ready.
Looks like he's driving. It looks like he's driving.
Yes. Yes, he's on. We can see his eyes.
Oh, hold on. He's talking, but we're not hearing. Oh, the congressman is muted on his end, according to the lower left-hand corner. You need to let him know they're muted. Okay, sorry.
Okay.
Let's come back to this. Let's let you troubleshoot this, and we're going to come back. I want to go to Nate first. We're going to hear some testimonials from people to help us understand the depth of the problem. And then if we get to tell, we're going to try to save time so we can hear from y'all as well. But Nate, tell us your story. Yeah, use that.
There you go.
Nate Gossett, Silver Construction. I can speak a little bit to some of the challenges we've had from our business and also some individuals. We're seeing significant delays in our mail, both outgoing and incoming. For our business, that's most meaningful as it relates to payments. We frequently do not receive payments from our customers. They get dated, we call them and ask, we sent you a check a month ago, okay, can you please stop payment that check, reissue it, we'll get that check, it'll show up, in a week, whatever. And then 60 days later, those original checks will show up. And
Did you say 60 days later?
sometimes 60 days, yeah. And we had a specific instance of that. It was 3 checks. They totaled about $1 million. And those checks showed up. My controller happened to be on vacation that day. He's the one that handles that stuff. Obviously, with a deposit of that size, we want to get that in the bank. And so we went and made the deposit. Well, it was a redeposit of those same checks, right? Now we've got issues with having to call those customers and let them know that this has happened, making sure they have funds to clear if they didn't effectively put a stop payment on those checks, waiting for those checks to hit the Fed and see if they.
So I can make sure I understand what's going on. So you get electronic notice of the check, so you deposit the $1 million then. Then you get the physical copy, and you, okay.
The physical copy never shows up, so we call the customer and say, please stop payment and reissue.
Yes, I got you.
They reissue, we deposit. 60 days later, those original checks that were supposed to be stop payments show up. If our process doesn't work perfectly internally to identify this as a check that was already stopped payment, it runs through again.
I see.
Right? And then we've got all kinds of hoops to jump through to make sure that the customer is treated fairly, that.
Because that could be $1 million overdraft on the part of your customer.
If they did not effectively get stop payment on that check. Now, thankfully, they all did. So we didn't have to deal with that. We had another circumstance. We bought a semi-trailer on a local auction, and they mailed us the title, certified. We go to the mailbox. We have a P.O. box at the west side, and we have a notice that we've got a certified mail. We go to pick it up, and they say, no, we don't have it. Sorry, it was in error that we told you you have it. So we're like, no, I'm waiting for a title. I need to get this trailer. No, it was in error. Okay, so I go back in there and I try to collect again. We get the same story. It should have never been in your box. We apologize. So we go back to the auction house. We start some work with the original owner of this trailer to deal with a lost title replacement title, because I need to be able to tax title license this thing and get it on the road. About 30 days later, as we're going through this process, we get a call from the auction house, and they got it back. It was returned to them. It should have been available to us. It actually went to the post office. They didn't have it available for us when we went to collect it. Long story short, 60 days later, we're able to go do tax title license on this trailer. We're now outside the 45-day window when we can do that. We've got to pay some penalties and go through some rigmarole and make that work. But those are 2 specific instances.
So is it going too far, Nate, to say that throughout most of your career, folks at SoCo have been able to view the Postal Service as a reliable partner in getting your business done, and now you can't view them that way?
Yeah, it's an absolute, or it always has been, until the last 12 months. We've never had any questions about it. Now we're seeing delayed mail delivery, we're seeing lost mail delivery. In general, my concern is a lack of confidence in the process. Right now, we're getting ready to issue 150, maybe 175 W-2s, and normally we would just put those in the mail. They would go to our people, and we wouldn't worry about it. Right now, we're not sure. So we're handing them out in person. We're calling employees who are currently on seasonal furlough to come in and pick theirs up. We're calling employees who are no longer with us but have W-2 from us to ask them, how do you want us to transmit this to you so that you know you're going to get it?
We'll come back to Nate and others a little bit. We may have some other conversations, but let's do this. You want to go with the conference sessions now?
That's better.
It's better.
Oh, yes, that's better. All right.
Yes, I can, 1, 2, 3.
All right, very good. Pete, we are ready. You are on screen and you have our attention.
Congressman, thank you very much, and I apologize for the poor decision making that I made, unfortunately, to be on the road. First of all, let me say thank you to everyone that has come forth today to not just meet with your young congressman, but to know that he is a part of a larger team in Washington. And he plays an important role and understands the players. And he very wisely came to me. My name is Pete Sessions. I'm a member of Congress that you've already heard from Texas. And I serve as chairman of the Government Operations Subcommittee of Government Reform. I have, wherever in the world a government operation is for the United States of America, I have original jurisdiction and oversight. One of those oversight models is the post office. And without making excuses for the post office or anyone else, I want you to know the post office is struggling. They're struggling. They lost $9 billion last year in the operation of trying to make sure that they provided service. And the competing factors that happen, not just with trying to get people to come to work, not just trying to get people to understand that we raise the price of stamps, but in a competitive marketplace whereby the post office has accepted the responsibility through contracting to make sure that they handle packages and other matters that people may have been left without service. That might be called Amazon, it could be called UPS, but they have accepted this, and it's been a guiding light and principle for them to accept the revenue, for them to accept the work, but us not have competing interests on the road, driving to places all over the United States. With that said, it has been a difficult transition. The post office was essentially a letter-based operation.
That was a good speech.
He's just getting warmed up too. All right, while we attempt to restore that, let's go to Craig and shift those television microphones down, if you will, Mr. Lawrence. A number of people in this audience and across our state have done a good job of raising alarm bells about some of these operational decisions. But I don't know that anybody's done a better job of that than Craig Lawrence. And I think you can set those, Mary, if you want on that right there. They'll pick them up. Craig's got a good voice. They'll be all right. Craig, what are you hearing and seeing here in Sioux Falls?
Well, I'm so old, I remember when a stamp was 3 cents. And wasn't the post office a marvelous thing for our country? We built it on our public schools and our Postal Service, and now that thing we relied on is breaking down. Yesterday I was at lunch with 6 businessmen, including the one who was in charge of mail operations at Citibank when they first opened here. Hundreds of thousands and millions of letters. And he said it was remarkable what the post office could do. I asked the 6 guys there, I said, how many of you now believe that the United States Postal Service is a reliable way to conduct business? Nobody did. Now, I know that it's not just sufficient just to complain. So I asked a few people around me, tell me your experience. One, Doug Noteboom, if any of you know him. I said, Doug, what's your experience? You're going to the post office. He said, I wanted to mail a letter and buy a roll of stamps. I said, how long were you in line? He said, I was number 22, and it took me, I think he said, I looked at my watch, it took him over 30 minutes. Now, you'll have to judge whether that's reasonable or not. My housekeeper went to mail a package well before Christmas, so her daughter would be sure to get it through the postal system, and it took her 90 minutes. There's me. You know, I thought, well, all right, when Hy-Vee closed, which was a dream, well, it was just a dream. They were so sweet and nice. So I thought, well, all right, I'll do it. Well, we have 2 post offices to serve 246,000 people with 2 windows that are open. And that's supposed to be sufficient. Now, we all know it's not. And that's why Dusty is here. And that's why the room is full on a day when the chill factor is 20 below. So I would just say our experience is real. My only question is, what should we expect as customers? What should we expect? Is a 90-minute wait to mail a package reasonable? Is letters which have become unreceivable, we don't get them, is that reasonable? I don't think so. So whatever we can do to help you, Dusty, and I know there's not much, we want to do.
Well, I do think, unfortunately, for better or for worse, we all realize that squeaky wheels do get grease. And I don't know if this forum will move the needle markedly, but I will tell you this, Craig, it cannot possibly make things worse. And so engaging the chairman of the committee, and by the way, I gotta tell you, we invited the Postal Service to be here. We invited state and regional leadership to come. I have asked if I could come tour their facilities. My initial inclination is not to blame people. I don't think you actually solve problems very often by trying to demonize. I am, like the rest of you, just trying to solve the gosh darn problem. We have gotten some good engagement with the locals, but the further you move up the food chain, the less responsive they are to even wanting to hear the concerns. And so that's why we're elevating, that's why we're getting a little louder, and that's why I'm hopeful that this can move the needle a little bit. With that, looks like we have the chairman back with us. And so, Pete, you have our attention again, sir.
Yes, and thank you, and I apologize. Let me start off and say this right off the bat. First of all, your entire congressional delegation, including senators, have been deeply involved in this issue, and they have been unable to even get a reasonable response back. So it lands in my bucket. Dusty, I will tell you that on the line right now, I have two members of my staff that are on. One of them who is the postal expert on the committee, because we have original jurisdiction with the post office. We're engaged with them over a lot of issues, and service and accountability are at the very top of that list. We have circumstances in Nevada, Texas, and almost every single state that we are imploring them to turn themselves around and move to a customer-based understanding where they can not only hear the issue, but they have to respond. The previous Postmaster General, Mr. DeJoy, as some of you may be aware, had his own plan and idea. Part of that plan and idea is something that he did not believe required him to have feedback and to have to let people know what he was doing. And unfortunately, I had to take the mantle and tell him he is still a public servant, just as I am, just as Dusty is, and we work for the people of this country. So we will get their attention. We have a relatively new Postmaster General, Mr. Steiner. Mr. Steiner is well-versed in understanding the operations of a large organization that is nationwide. He is also aware that there must be an outreach and understanding to listen and to respond and to resolve issues that occur. With that said, it's been a slow transition. There have been a number of issues and facts that have come about. And so I'm going to say right to you, I will be very pleased as early as Tuesday to begin the discussion directly related to your state. I will be very pleased as a person that has a 14 county district in central Texas, whereby we have a lot of cow-calf operations, we have a lot of electrical generation plants, we have a lot of commerce that moves back and forth. We need to have a post office that is prepared to understand their mission and be able to explain to us and the customer their operational standards and procedures. So we will get that done this week. Dusty, I will just point blank tell you, because I'm looking at you, I will be very pleased because of my past engagement with the post office it requires that I come out there probably to get them to come. I do not understand that, but that's a fact of the case. We've had problems in several different locations, South Carolina, including Texas. And when I get engaged, they figured out, whoops, if he's gonna make the trip, so do I. So I would just tell you, each of you, what you're doing today is a building the case, as your young congressman told you. I believe it will result in answers. I believe it will result in things being better. But with that said, I will personally involve myself, if invited by your young congressman and your delegation, to come out, and that will draw the UPS, not at the highest level, but it will get their regional vice president there. And you will see where we're entitled to them knowing about the questions of service. We're entitled to know about their answers, and we're entitled to see progress. This post office is a nationwide large organization that has lots of needs. But my district and Dusty's district are just as important as someone that's in downtown Dallas, Texas, where I was for a number of years, and we're going to get there. So, Dusty, I have several people that are on the line. J.D. Guerrero, who is my personal staff, and Mr. Bill Womack, who represents the committee. I'm going to, rather than me continuing this, which is a difficult thing in transitions, proven that way, I'm going to agree that they will stay on the line, they will hear these things. I will be coming to your office next week with a personal report to you about the things which I believe will be necessary to address every single issue that you have. The people of your state are no different than the people of my state and district, and that is they're proud Americans. And there are people who work purposely, peacefully for the commerce and their needs. And we are going to find a way to get there. So I just want to give people the confidence that you did the right thing. We probably had 15 other members that have come directly to me because that's my job. I will get my job, and you are part of a team. You're an effective voice and leader, and you're a mature man, and I enjoy not only working with you, but the responsibility that you have. So with that said, I'm just going to do this because I'm stupid. My email address is eagle@petesessions.com. And if you want to email me, I want to be responsible to you. I'm an Eagle Scout. I tell the truth. I do my job. But if you're going to send me an email, please tell me who you are and what your needs are, and we will get back to you. And I want you to know that your representation that you have is as fine as you've ever had from your state. And with great respect to them, I intend to honor the things that I've said here today. Sir, you have a rebuttal to me.
Chairman, that was so very well said. There are a lot of appreciative faces in this packed room. Thank you. You're to be commended for your willingness to move so quickly and to promise to come here. And your wisdom is great in avoiding the trip in January of South Dakota. So we'll get one scheduled soon. And thank you for all of that. Just remarkable. Far more than we expected, and we're grateful.
Well, I will remember the needs of South Dakota, and we suffered, as you did, your cow-calf operations years ago when you had a rainstorm that came through followed by a huge freeze that you lost a huge numbers of herds of people. And that as a 33-year member of the Texas Farm Bureau, we sprung into action to see what we could do to help there. South Dakota has always long been a bellwether of the needs of this nation, providing men and women to our United States military and armed forces. You have always produced men and women of character who served in this position. And I want you to know that it is out of this respect that I intend to make sure, sir, that you are well and faithfully handled.
Let's give the chairman a round of applause, please, everybody. Thank you, sir. We know you got to go and your team will stay on the line.
My guys will stay on.
Very good. Thank you much, Mr. Chairman. And with that, we had some people that we wanted to be here today, but they could not make it. Geography can be oppressive, but we're going to share a few stories as we intermix here between, let's maybe move those back down here. Good. Oh, Craig, you still probably had things to say, so go ahead.
Just add one more thing, since you asked me to name me a name tag and all that, okay. Yesterday, I was gonna mail a small box of books, right, very small, look closer. Went to the post office, or I tried to, I went to the one on the west side. Okay, about 12 people in line, including a lady in front who I think she was rewriting the Encyclopedia Britannica. And I got frustrated. I am impatient. If you look it up in the dictionary, there's a picture of me sweating nuts. I drove to UPS, a smiling young lady greeted me when I came in the door, boxed it up. It was the same price as UPS, as the Postal Service. And so I did that. They're driving us away. They need more business to create profit, but they're driving us away. So but here's my question, Dusty. I've been in business here 50 years. If these people work for me, they'd be cleaning out their desks right now. Why can't Congress do that?
That has been what's amazing to me. That's where we're on a lot. This is what has been amazing to me. Normally, when a congressional office reaches out, the IRS or the VA or to Indian Health, they get real nervous. Whether it's fair or not, we get answers a lot faster than you all get answers. And that's how we add value. The VA isn't treating you right, you contact Mason or you contact Chelsea or Reed. They are, on our team, we're advocates for you and we get answers quickly. The thing that has surprised me the most about this, Craig, other than how quickly the service has deteriorated, is how little the senior leadership of the United States Postal Service seems to care about the concerns being raised by Congress. And that's why it's important to elevate it beyond the member level and up to the oversight level, where those people have the opportunity through subpoenas and through funding to have real accountability over the failures of these organizations. And I do want to mention, John Thune, he's done great work. Mike Rounds has done great work elevating this issue. And it is, as Pete Sessions said, it's going to be a team sport. And our natural inclination is to work behind the scenes rather than blow people up publicly. But I'll tell you what, playing nice behind the scenes is not working, which is why we're going to continue to turn up the heat. Let's hear it for Craig, please. All right, I'm going to share a couple of slides, and then we'll go to Mary, unless you had something else you needed to.
Isn't it incredible we can snatch the president of Argentina out of his bedroom in the middle of the night, not lose one soldier, we can't deliver a letter from Minnesota Avenue to the west part of town.
It is remarkable. All right, two quick stories from constituents, then we're going to go to Mary. First off, I guess let's just stay with this graphic. Let's go back. We did a survey. It got as much response as almost anything we've done. This is what South Dakotans, 4,200 of them, think about their U.S. Postal Service today. You can see 59% think they're very poor or poor, and that dog does not hunt. All right, let's go to our story from a veteran. I'm a veteran who relies on the United States Postal Service to get my medication. I refilled 4 prescriptions through the VA phone system. All arrived late, and one has yet to arrive. I ended up going to the VA hospital to refill a prescription that was delayed. That's from Jill, and that's the same message we heard from Nate and from Craig. People have lost confidence that this is a system that they can rely on. Next, Susan from Fulton. I mailed a payment from Fulton to Sioux Falls, 216 miles. On September 5th, the payment did not reach Sioux Falls until September 30th. resulting in a late fee of over $2,700. Mary has a story you wouldn't believe, other than the fact that it has happened to half of you. Go ahead.
Yeah, there it is. Well, actually, I have 3 incidents just since the beginning of December. This is the one that kept our family very amused. December 7th, I ordered 8 Christmas gifts from a company in Massachusetts. They guaranteed delivery through the US Postal Service by December 17th. I did not receive my package, my Christmas gifts that I wanted to give out. So I went on the tracking, and that package went from Littleton, Massachusetts to Springfield, Massachusetts to Des Moines, Iowa. From Des Moines, Iowa, it went to Opelika, Florida. The next day it left Opelika, Florida, but the day after that it went back to Opelika, Florida. And the day after that it left Opelika, Florida and went to Olathe, Kansas. From Olathe, Kansas, it was sent to Baltimore, Maryland. From Baltimore, Maryland, it went to Washington, D.C. And from Washington, D.C., it went to Chicago. And from Chicago, it went to West Fargo. And then from West Fargo, it finally landed at the Huron Distribution Center. And I received the package December 29th. We had a lot of laughs about it, but then I had to send all of my Christmas gifts. We went down to UPS on a Monday, and they guaranteed delivery of those gifts 2 days later, and those gifts did get delivered 2 days later through UPS. Then my sister-in-law calls me and she said, "Did you change your address?" And I said, "Not for 43 years. And she said, "Well, I sent your Christmas card and it came back not able to deliver to the address and unable to forward." I said, "What?" And so she put it in another envelope and sent it. She didn't even open it. Now, if you can tell any difference in those 2 addresses, we got the second one, but we did not get the first one. And then Wednesday evening, I get a telephone call. On December 8th, I sent a check worth several thousands of dollars to a business in Watertown. And they called me wanting to know why they had not received payment. And I was flabbergasted. I said, "I sent that check December 8th. I'll have to check to see if it's been cashed and by whom." So yesterday, the bank was notified, and they notified us that it has not been cashed. So it's out there somewhere. So we stopped payment on that check, and on Sunday, I will be hand delivering the check to Watertown to make sure the business gets their money.
2-hour drive.
Again, it just seems from a system that used to work so well, we were baffled by it. These stories are hard to understand, how quickly the degradation happens. Before we go to Todd, I just want to reiterate what I said at the front, which is this is not a failure of the men and women on the front lines, the overworked mail carriers and the overworked clerks, who maybe too often we take our frustration out on. This is a failure of leadership, and this is a problem of systems that have been changed in ways that all too often the men and women on the front lines told them would not work. And so let's turn to Todd to share a perspective from the clerks working at USPS.
Thank you. I want to thank Dusty for putting this on, and I want to thank Mr. Sessions too for talking to us, taking the time, and they're after it. Couple things. First of all, I'm retired from Postal Service. I've been the South Dakota Postal Workers Union state president for the last 8 years. And I do that because I believe in the union and I believe in the Postal Service. But the last 3 years have been very challenging, and they continue to be even more challenging. The very first meeting they had in Huron, when they started talking about sending the mail to Fargo, sending the mail to Omaha, sending the mail from Rapid City at that time was gonna go to Billings, now it goes to Denver. When they first had that meeting, I went to that in Huron, they would not let you ask a question. Management put on this big production, and you were not allowed to ask a question. You'd give a comment if you wanted to, but you could not ask a question. Came down to the one in Sioux Falls a couple months later that they had, which they actually let you ask questions. One of the questions I asked them was, okay, why don't you put a local drop back? Well, we can't go backwards. That's going backwards if they put a local drop for you to deposit a letter that was maybe going to 570 to 571, in that where they could keep it segregated and keep that mail here, working here. Same in Watertown, same in Huron, Aberdeen, all those others. No, they couldn't do that, they'd be going backwards. So, you know, when they talk about upper management, an MBA that we had, National Business Agent, years ago, before Dakota Central was ever implemented, said that the Postal Service has a habit of trying to put a square peg in a round hole, which is what they do. Then they figure they could fix it afterwards. And it may take years to get things fixed. A perfect example how upper management doesn't care about what lower management has to say is when Dakota Central was implemented, I was given a packet because I was very vocal that I didn't think they should be doing that at that time. And I was given a packet by a manager that was within the district that said that if they were going to do a facility like Dakota Central, Watertown, South Dakota was the place to do it. This was by local district managers. But headquarters said, no, we're gonna do it here. So we put it here. So that's why I say, you know, when it comes to listening to local people, listening to, I mean, we've been very vocal, trying to get information to Dusty Johnson, to Senator Rounds, Senator Thune, since this whole thing started. And it's like, there has not been one career clerk in South Dakota that I'm aware of that has lost their job. So what are they doing? It's like postal workers that you hear telling you that this is not right, they're not telling you because they're scared of losing their job. They're telling you because they know, they see what happens, they know it's right, they know it's wrong. They know it isn't gonna work. You know, examples was DC implementing that there versus doing that is a perfect example of not listening to it. The Postal Service in the years that I have been around are very good at making numbers look at whatever they want you to see. So it sounds good. An example of that is Watertown, Aberdeen, and Pierre. Right now, their mail, our truck comes in Watertown from Dakota Central at like 5 in the morning. It turns around and leaves at 10:30 in the morning. It doesn't take any mail from that day. They take the mail at 6 o'clock at night, then they hit the drops. They stage the mail at 6 o'clock tonight. It'll leave tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. So if you put something in there after 6 o'clock tonight, it's not gonna go anywhere until the next day.
2 days, not the
2
next day,
days.
the next day.
Yep, it'll be 2 days. So it's like, they're doing that in Watertown, Aberdeen, and Pierre right now. Which affects not just Watertown, Aberdeen, and Pierre, it affects every 572 town, every 573 town, every 574, and every 575 town. Because they all have the hub of Dakota Central. That mail gets down to Dakota Central, they cancel the letters supposedly get, and pull out the 572 to 575, the rest goes to Fargo. However, Aberdeen and Pierre's trucks don't get there until after they're done doing that. So Aberdeen and Pierre's sits there till the next day. So if you're in Aberdeen or Pierre or one of the star routes or anything out of there, your mail isn't gonna go anywhere for 2 days for sure before it ever leaves Dakota Central. Rapid City.
And by the way, if this worked, if people could, if a 1 day delay meant the whole system worked and you could count on getting your mail a day later, I'd be fine with that. The problem isn't the 1 day delay, it's the 60-day delay.
I got my treasurer for the South Dakota Postal Workers Union lives in Martin, South Dakota. She sent me a deal that says basically if you send something from Martin to Martin, it's 5 days to get there. So it's like, and it goes from Martin to Dakota Central to Fargo, back to Dakota Central, and then down to Martin. Senator Rounds, I watched the deal he had the other day, and it's like, I think it's kind of wrong because he said if you send a letter from Rapid City, his office in Rapid City to his office in Pierre, it goes Rapid City to Denver to Des Moines to Fargo, then to Pierre. Well, actually, I believe it goes from Rapid City to Denver to Omaha to Fargo to Dakota Central, then to Pierre. So it's like, yeah, and I had another deal from Rapid City. They're basically the same thing as Dakota Central. Their mail comes in, they send their routes out, they come back in that morning or whatever. It gets done that day, it goes to Denver. It's like, if it's not there before that truck leaves to go to Denver, then it sits there until the next day, like Aberdeen and Pierce does.
And then we want to make sure we save time for these folks as well. So again, when we have a conversation, we'll have Nate and Craig and Mary and Todd, Dave feed in as well with their answers. Let's hear from 3 more folks who cannot be here with us today. Carl from Rapid City. There we are. There have been 2 recent periods where we had no mail delivery. One was 4 days long and the other 5 days. We live within city limits. Additionally, we've had a mild fall in early winter, so weather is not to blame. And by the way, again, none of you doubt this is true from Carl, because this has happened to almost all of you. Next, Bob from Aberdeen. We're in Aberdeen. We had an invoice from another business in Aberdeen mailed to us, and it took 21 days to get across town. Makes Martin seem like the Speedway, the 5-day delivery service. Tim from Rapid City. My pills normally come from Fort Meade, that's Sturgis, to Rapid City, and make it to my box in 1 to 2 business days. They took a critical medicine from Fort Meade to Rapid City, sent it to Denver, New York, to Denver, to New York a second time, back to Denver again, and then to Rapid City Sorting Center, then to my house. I went into kidney failure because they were playing games with the mail. With that, as we talk about great institutions that help to bind us together and connect us, like the Postal Service has done, another one of those institutions would be great news outlets. Dave Bordwick, how has this affected the news? And Todd, if you could pass him those mics, that would be great.
Thank you, Congressman.
And let's give a round of applause to Todd and to Dave.
My name is Dave Borderwack. I'm Executive Director of the South Dakota News Media Association. We represent 100 newspapers and digital outlets across the state. First of all, I want to thank Congressman Johnson for hosting this important event and for all of you showing up. For newspapers, the post office is an essential partner, particularly in a rural state like South Dakota with great distances between communities. Private delivery, contract delivery for newspapers is not an option. We need the Postal Service in order to get our products delivered. But the system is broken. All these horror stories that you've heard are all true for our newspapers right now as well. Our newspapers in South Dakota put 238,000 pieces of mail into the system every week of the year.
How many?
238,000. That's the paid product. They also put another 100,000 pieces of shopper mail into the system every week. So, approaching 500,000 pieces are coming from our industry into the system. And I can tell you, it's a prairie fire right now. From border to border, Faith to Vermilion, Millbank to Martin, all of our newspapers are having all sorts of problems. We began tracking this last spring when these alarm bells started going off, and I started getting calls from all our member publishers. And so we started collecting a database of anecdotal evidence of all these horror stories of delivery problems that we're seeing from our newspapers. And then we tried to engage with regional postal folks out of Des Moines. Had a couple Zoom meetings, ended in frustration, got no response, much like we've heard here before. And then late this fall in December, I queried our members again with a quick survey. So I wanted to see, well, maybe things have gotten better since we've been rattling the cages and our delegation's been doing work. So I sent a quick email to all 100 of our members and said, look, have things gotten any better? Have they gotten worse? Or are they about the same since we started tracking this last spring of 2025? Only one of the 50 responses I got back said, maybe a little bit better. Everyone else said it got worse or remained the same. It's not getting any better. So it is a real problem for our members. They're losing subscribers and they're losing advertisers. Advertisers can't count on the newspaper to get time-sensitive marketing messages out to the community. And as a result, community newspapers, which already are in a fragile, precarious condition for the most part, many of them, are now losing business because the Postal Service can't deliver. Years ago, it used to be a problem with out-of-state delivery. Now it's a problem just getting delivery to the community next door or within the same community. So all these stories you've heard, we're hearing it as well. We need the Postal Service to respond quickly. And I just applaud Congressman and Chairman Sessions as well and others to doing all they can to try to get them to the Postal Service to engage, because right now we're not able to, and so it's been very frustrating.
I just want to note again, people are reasonable. I mean, the three of these people up here, I've known for 25 years. They are not prone to bouts of histrionics. They are not overly dramatic. Every one of them are thoughtful people who understand that transitions take time. We have been patient for years, 4 or 5 years through this transition, and things have only gotten worse every single year. And I think that's why people are so frustrated. All right, 2 more stories, and then we're going to open it up to you all. Raise your hand. We'll run a microphone over, and don't give a big long speech, but make a comment, and then we'll see if any of our panelists have anything that they want to add to your comments. All right, let's hear from Jennifer in Bath. That's up near Aberdeen. We run a business that relies solely on invoices getting to our customers. The most complaints I've had in 14 years of customers never getting their bills or getting them 2 months later. My checks are not being delivered, and if they are, the envelopes are ripped up. So we get from Helen and Kevin Geppert. Livestock Direct recently mailed a catalog from Kansas to over 550 customers, including many in the Dakotas. Notably, catalogs sent to California and Washington were delivered in only 4 days, despite being further away than North and South Dakota. Delivery averages for North Dakota and South Dakota were 8 days and 7.5 days, respectively, nearly double the amount of time it takes to get to California. This is not how commerce works. We want to rely on the Postal Service. We want it to be successful. Congress and customers of the system are willing to make greater investments if they have faith in the system. Faith has been eroded. With that, you all share what's on your mind. We get Mason, maybe Jake, somebody? All right, there we go. That's a hot mic. And don't turn it off. We'll just keep it on and we'll move it around to the next person.
And technology, I mean, in Atlanta, you can get a pizza delivered with the drone. Can we invest? Can we get one of these those guys that are smarter than that work for Elon Musk? I mean, if these people aren't going to do their job, fire them, hire some people that do the job. It doesn't have to come to this. I mean, it's just common sense that you as a congressman, you should be listening to. And if they're not going to do the job, come on, I'll get up and put Trump on it, fire these people. It doesn't make sense.
And by the way, when you have a redesign, like I'm shocked they wouldn't let me come tour any of their facilities. We all know that it's often the case that there are 2 sides to a story and two sides to a story, and the things are more complicated than politicians will lead you to believe. So I wanted to go learn. I didn't blow them up in the media. I said, hey, I want to find out what's really going on. Show me, tell me the truth. They refused to let a United States congressman take a look at any of their logistics behind the scenes.
I can tell you why.
Ooh,
When this stuff started, I contacted people that I know in North Dakota that work in farming. And they said, we can't handle the mail we have now, Todd. Let alone bringing Dakota Central. They wanted to bring Bismarck, Fergus Falls, I believe, and Grand Forks into farming. And they said right now, at that time, this was 3 years ago or whatever it was, they had mail setting for 5 days at that time. Because they did not have
Sitting there, not being processed.
Sitting there. push down another truck or put out of the way. They had where they would put it on the truck. And one time the mail actually got sent to another town. It got up there, they were like, what's this? And it's like, well, they put it on there to get it out of the way, because they couldn't process it. So it went to another, I think it ended up going to Grand Forks.
That's why it's going to Florida 3 times.
So that's why they don't want you in there.
All right, who else? We got there, here.
Dusty, I agree with the gentleman right here. If you want to be credible, we need to fire the people at the top. If you're a business like Nate's, you're going out of business. If you're a publicly traded company, the CFO, the CEO are going down. We need to make the change and find the right people and do it quickly. To use taxpayer dollars to fund a $9 billion a year that's not successful is absolutely the most ridiculous thing we've ever heard.
Oh, and of course, as you know, I agree with you, which is part of the reason that we're bringing in the oversight chair. And frankly, you want to talk about people being fired, you know who's not in a job anymore is Postmaster General Louis DeJoy. It's not as though there has not been accountability for this terrible failure. All right, who else? And then Nathan, next one, we got 2 in the all the way back, so help those guys out.
I'm not usually a numbers person, but I knew that Sioux Falls had grown quite a bit since I moved here 15 years ago. So I Googled how many more people do we have in Sioux Falls in 15 years, and Google told me we have 66,000 more people. Now, we still have only 2 post offices. Sometime in those 15 years, you would have thought as the Postal Service noticed maybe we were growing here, they would have added a post office maybe on the south end of town or the north end of town, but no. And then they took the subsidiary postal services away from Hy-Vee and Lewis, which I used all the time, especially when the weather's bad, because that's one-stop shopping for me, mail a package and get groceries. And they took all of those away, and they did that very rapidly within about a month's time. They did not linger on that one at all. And I went in one day and it was closed. No more postal service in my Lewis. And so I will not go to either one of the post offices that we currently have, because one of the clerks was so rude to me at the West office that I said, I'm never coming back here after standing in line for forever. And downtown, I paid the clerk. I went in, the line was out the door. I waited. There was one clerk, and the poor gal was just, just buried. So I just don't trust them anymore. I just want to take my mail elsewhere. So thank you.
And as you guys make these comments, we will enter these into the report that we are providing to the U.S. Postal Service and Chairman Sessions, along with the responses we got from our survey. So these are good comments. Go ahead, sir.
All these comments are resonating with me. I've experienced the same issues of Lewis Drug not having mail. It's a big inconvenience because now I have to drive all the way across town. But if I just want to drop a letter off in one of the blue boxes in the neighborhood, that's always worked well in the past. But recently, over about 2 weeks' time, I kept mailing letters, and all of a sudden we realized the blue box is overflowing. And we found out none of the letters were picked up for like 2 solid weeks until the box is overflowing. So all that mail, late payments, we run business, so all that business mail was impacted. I sent a large check to my brother in Virginia. I thought, I'll pay the extra. It's like $10 or $12 for certified mail. So I pay for the premium service. It's supposed to be 3 days. It took 17 days. So all of these, it went back and forth between Richmond and another city in Virginia. Just went back and forth like 5 times. And then finally, after ping-ponging 5 times, it went to New York. And then it came back to Virginia. So it's ridiculous. And so I guess if you guys need any kind of documentation, tracking numbers, another one is I mailed in my tax return for my corporation and certified mail with a return receipt to the IRS last year. It's supposed to be there in 3 days. It was there according to the tracking, but my return receipt was delayed by a month. And then the IRS came back to me and said, my return was found late, here's a $500 penalty. You know, so I spent the last 8 months trying to resolve that issue with the IRS, showing them the documentation. So mail is foundational to commerce. We cannot be business people in this country without having reliable mail. And it's not like it's not a simple customer relationship. We can't just walk out the door and take our business somewhere else. We could, I suppose, FedEx everything, but it's not really too many alternatives. So we're kind of stuck with what we have, and it needs to be fixed.
Well said.
You know, when you talked about the blue box being overflowing and stuff, I will say, as far as I know, every carrier that hits a box anymore, or clerk, there's a barcode in there that they're supposed to scan that shows that they've hit that drop. So ultimately, it would come back to where, who was checking that that box had been scanned and hit, to where, you know, someone dropped the ball there by not checking them reports.
Go ahead, Ken.
Hi, Deanna from Sioux Falls. I had a sister that worked at North Central in Huron for a lot of years. And we always got our mail on time then and everything, but now it comes late. Christmas cards I sent, I talked to some people and they never even got them this year. So there's 3 people that work on Louise Avenue in Sioux Falls at the post office. I feel sorry for them people because at Christmas time, there was 50 people one day in there. And I just went to get a yellow card so I could stop my mail for 10 days while I went on vacation. And I finally just sniffed around them and got that and left. And I wanted stamps that day too, but I couldn't get them because I wasn't gonna stand in line for that many hours. And there was more people coming, there was no parking left out there. And some of them had parked over across the street. And this is totally ridiculous. There's gotta be, South Dakota's got to be able to do their own mail in at least 2 places. Okay, that's one thing. I don't know what else to say, but bless those 3 people on Louise Avenue that for Christmas rush. That was awful for them to take this stuff out of Lewis Drug and IV stores at Christmas time, when people were trying to get their packages out. And I left on the 17th, so it was before that.
Yeah, well, amen to all that, and let's, we got a lot of hands up, so let's keep moving.
Why were they taken out? Why were Hy-Vee and Lewis? That's come up so many times.
Oh, it was a terrible decision. We relayed that to them at the time, that they had said laughably that they only use those third-party services when they do not have capacity within the Postal Service regime proper. And they said, now we have capacity, and so we don't need these private sector people anymore. Anybody who has stood in any line at any post office in any metro area knows that there is not excess capacity. They are short of capacity, and it might be the single biggest mistake they have made in Sioux Falls with mail service.
One more thing.
Okay.
This is about drugs. Did that pass to, because my Eliquis cost $585 the first month, 300 something the second month, and went down to $249. And for the rest of the year, but then somebody told me about this place, Prescription Lifeline, to go to. I went to that. They charged me $129 plus $79 a month. Now it's gone up to $99 a month. And this is so ridiculous. I mean, for one prescription.
Yes, so this is something I care a lot about. We can talk a lot about prescriptions, but let's do that once we break here, because we got people who want to talk about
And I was at your phone calls 3 times, and I never got chose to talk.
Yeah. Well, it seems like we should have called on you. Well, I'll chat with you one-on-one, and that'll be better than a phone call. You're right.
I wanted to just share about the logistic aspects, because when you get right down to it, that's what's the problem, is that the system is messed up. I mean, they need to pull either somebody from DOGE or from the military or somebody who knows how to make a route and get things going and the best route and closest, because people are joking about the Pony Express being faster. And I have to say, for local mail, it probably is. But I have, my stepdad has a person in Minneapolis area who has worked in the post office there for a long time. And it used to be that Postal Service jobs were really a good job. A lot of people got out of other things, retired, took a second job with the Postal Service and worked that until they retired from there. And they had veteran priorities and just all sorts of things, and it was a very good job. People liked it. But in this case, this gentleman has been there a long time, been through, 25 years or better. He says in their postal area where the mail is sorted, it has gone from English-speaking people, and I'm not trying to be racist or anything, but to non-English-speaking people or people with very poor English-speaking skills. And he has brought up from there that how do you sort the mail when you can't read the mail in English? And that they often have bags and bags of mail kind of sitting off in the edge that don't actually get sorted until they get around to it because, again, I suppose they're overworked and things, but things are just messed up in the whole situation. And I know there's a lot more missed mail. We're getting letters and things for other people in our neighborhood. In fact, we have a joke with one. We have just a little text chain now. Oh, did you get it? Yeah, I get it. I'll come over and get it. And things are beat up and it's just not working. So again, somebody needs to take it over and get rid of the people who supposedly are taking care of it and figure out the right logistical methods for getting things where they're supposed to go without going all over creation first.
One thing I'll say quick, just so you guys know, in case you don't know it already, December 24th, the Postal Service passed the deal as far as postmarking. I can't remember if I mentioned it or not, but it's like, if you gotta mail in your tax returns, you're gonna wanna do it at least 2 or 3 days ahead of time because it's not gonna get postmarked until it hits the plant. So if you mail it here in Sioux Falls, it's not gonna get postmarked till it gets to Omaha for sure.
We're not taking checks anymore.
That is wild.
All right?
All right.
Good.
Just one thing, my sister lives in Nebraska, and she was telling me a story, so it's not just South Dakota. She mailed a payment to an electrician who lived 5 miles away, and it took 17 days for him to get the payment in Nebraska. And she had canceled her check, of course, because she thought it got lost or whatever. So the other thing is, that bothers me when I go to the post office and these long lines now that we have, are the elderly people that are standing there waiting to get up to the desk. They're having a terrible time physically, finding something to lean against and so on. It's made it almost impossible for them to go and stand in those long lines and get anything done.
When you talk about waits in line, it's like when I was still working, it was no more than 5-minute wait in line was all it was supposed to be. And they monitored that. They don't do that anymore. So I don't know who changed the policy, but they don't do it anymore.
My name is Dennis, and I live in Sioux Falls. I'm not old enough like that, but I remember postage stamps in Mitchell 6 cents. And maybe we should go back to the Pony Express, But here, I got a question I have of you and Mr. Sessions is this. You say nobody from leadership in the Postal Service will meet with you and talk. Why can't Congress subpoena them like I see on TV when they have oil industry leaders or car leaders come and testify and get grilled? Why can't they do that with the Postal Service people?
They can
see it on TV.
They can, and that's why it's so important to engage Mr. Sessions. I mean, when you're on the Agriculture Committee, you don't get to subpoena the Postal Service. When you're in the government oversight and operations, you absolutely do. And so, listen, I think you all probably were a little surprised by how absolutely upfront Pete was in making a lot of promises about things that were gonna happen on Tuesday and about coming here to visit and dragging the USPS with him. And I think he knows he's on the clock for exactly the reasons you're mentioning.
Second question I have is this. Listening to the other one, I come from the business world. I worked with a lot of business people in Sioux Falls. Last 15 years at a small public traded corporation bank down the street. Part of this is work ethic in America too. Listening to a lot of employers, they're talking about the frustration of hiring people and getting them to come to work on time and doing a good job. So part of it, now whatever change that is, I don't know. behavior change, but it comes from leadership too. Example, I keep track of it since November. I've had issues with we live in a new area of town. We got a bank of post office boxes. I can't tell you how many times I can't get my paper. I will go and stand in line up West 41st or West 57th Street. And I say, I didn't get my paper today. Supervisor goes back, brings it out, gives it to me. I said, why can't the carrier do that? You found it. He just shakes his head, I don't know. I've had that happen, I keep track of it. How many times I've been down there, they get to know me. We got a nice good relationship. But if that guy can find it, it's sitting there, why can't the carrier find it and deliver it? That's my question.
So
it's there.
You track that. We love having that kind of data. If you would make sure one of our staffers get it before you go, we'll put that in our report to the USPS.
I got it. I kept track every time I go there. I take this paper with me. And so the guy takes it and sees my name and that tracking number, and he goes back and finds it. So it's there. It comes from Des Moines. There's a couple of days we had some bad weather. Okay, I know that truck didn't get out of Des Moines, but that was there once.
So we've been able to hear from the clerks. Let's get a perspective from the letter carriers if we can.
My name's Stacy Douglas. I'm the president of the South Dakota Association of Letter Carriers. Nothing you're saying today surprises me. We get all the complaints from all of our people on our routes. Just being out there delivering mail, we hear it all. It's definitely a system that is broken from the top down. Like, we feel like victims too in this. You know, we want to get you your mail. There's staffing issues all over the state. If you know anybody that needs a job, we are looking for carriers. But we really need to fix this from the top down. It is not like I appreciate you saying, like, you know, don't blame the people delivering your mail, because that really, we do. We try to get it to you as soon as we get it. There's staffing issues. There are just delays that we have no control over. We have tried to fight this stuff before it happens. They don't listen to us. I mean, they don't listen to you. They're not going to listen to us. So I just want to say, you know, on behalf of all your letter carriers, we're really sorry. We are trying also. And it's just, you know, it's a system that's broken from the top down, and that's it.
Thank you for that.
You know, Dennis mentioned about work ethic. It's like, when I started in 1987, you were hired as a career employee. I was hired as a PTF. That's career. Nowadays, they have CCA carriers and they have PSE clerks. These people are not career. And unless you're in a bigger level office like Sioux Falls or even level Watertown and stuff, if you're hired as a CCA, 2 years as a CCA, you get converted to career. Same with a PSE, postal support employee in the clerk side. If you're in them offices for up to 2 years, then you become career. But it's like, they don't hire them as career. And a lot of them get in there and 6 months down the road say, this is BS, I'm gone. They get a different job because they're not getting the benefits and they're not career.
Other thoughts? We got one over here. We have Rapini here. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Ira. I've been living in South Dakota since September of 23. I moved from New York. We're still trying to decide if it was a good decision. But the mail is nuts. I mean, we first moved here, it was fine. And like the last 6 months, it's like we had a Christmas package too, USPS delivery, just disappeared, no one knows what happened to it. I use Informed Delivery. Informed Delivery tells me what's coming. It's not in my mailbox. We had 3 so bad weather days in December, mail didn't come. Wonderful. We had, coming January 5th, I have a boatload of mail coming in and whatnot, Informed Delivery, no mail was delivered that day. Something is so wrong here. Something is not working. Maybe shoot these people, really. Because it's not fair to us. And then losing Lewis and Hy-Vee. I'm a small business, I need to mail. Not every package I mail is a large mail. Sometimes it's a first class, large envelope or whatnot. I'm not gonna wait in the post office for 2 days to mail a letter. And there's no plausible way to do it. I have to send FedEx to $35. It's just not working, and something needs to be done about it. Heads need to roll. I think this whole country needs a total redo. And if people can't read English, get rid of them, seriously. You know, it's nuts.
Let's go, you ma'am, and then we'll go here, and then we'll kind of talk about the way forward just a little bit.
I work for 6 Fortune 500 companies over about 35 to 40 years. And I would suggest that They bring in top-level people in supply chain management from corporations, or perhaps even bring in FedEx, UPS, DHS, people who are willing to share their insight, because these huge companies have to have goods coming in and going out. You know, Heinz tracks every can of vegetables. ADM knows where their stuff's going, Hewlett Packard does, Weyerhaeuser does. They can track their lumber. I mean, all these companies track their inputs and their outputs. That capabilities exist, smart people are out there. They need to bring in some good minds. I would not suggest those just broke stuff. They didn't fix anything. But there are corporate leaders making things work, and I'd suggest getting their input. Thank you.
Oh, I told Rahini she'd be next, then sure, then you, and then we'll.
I just have a quick point to make. When you said that you had that yellow sticker on your envelopes, and the envelope said yes, and that is happening all around the country. So I waited in line at Lewis post office 2 days in a row to get there, and finally when I got to the front of the line, I asked the gentleman who I always see, very knowledgeable, very good, told me that you want to know honestly what happened? And I said, yes. He said, there are stupid people working the automated line. They throw the mail on there. They never make sure that the mail is up or down. So if the mail is upside down, the automated thing is not read, and the letter comes back to you saying not deliverable with the sticker on. So that is what's happening, and it's not just in South Dakota. I'm a hobby letter writer. I write to veterans. I write to our military. I write to nursing homes. I'm a hobby letter writer. And I pay tons of money for that. 45 minutes to 47 minutes is the regular wait at Sioux Falls Post Office. And yes, that is happening all over the country. And I've been told stupid people are working automated lines. That is why that is happening.
I have 3 grown children.
Yes.
One in Fargo, one in Huron, and one in Mitchell. And this happened to all of this
Yes.
this winter. All 3 families for their Christmas cards. This
Yes.
this wasn't a.
So I wanted to make that point, that I was told by the postal worker.
Sure.
Thank you.
I'm a small family business owner, 3rd generation. I remember stamping out bills on an old stamp machine, sent them out, never a problem, got everywhere. Everybody got them, everything were great. Now, we send out payments like Nate has done, and they arrive there probably 2.5 weeks late. There's times that we tried to adjust for that by sending them out early the second we got the bill. But if you're not on time, doesn't matter, with the Postal Service, if you're late, you got payments to make on it. We've had mail come in from Platte, reach Mitchell, supposed to go to Chamberlain. Name wasn't ours, address wasn't, postal zip code wasn't, but it ended up there. And working with my wife, she took the time to track down the person that sent it, contacted them, and sent it out from our business, and we paid the postage on it to get it to where it was. It was for a concrete company. And that's just kind of how we do it. The other thing I wanted to mention was to the postal carriers, we've got to meet quite a few of you guys, and you really do work hard. I see them out there in the worst weather. I see them out there every day. Somebody's sick, they change up routes, and they are very nice people. I appreciate you guys very, very much, and thank you for everything you're doing. When I look at Mary and her story, yeah, I've had that happen too, with checks and everything else. Nate's probably run into it from what I understand. And the only thing that comes to mind is maybe we can change the name, if you want to raise the voice, to the United States Plinko Service.
Okay, I would ask everybody who works for the congressional office to come up here just a little bit so people can see you. Okay, good. Good. And I was thinking Team Dusty. I wasn't going to force the senator. Well, you guys should introduce yourself too. No, that's good. So people know who you guys are too. And of course, I gave my coworkers, my colleagues a shout out. Mike has done a tremendous job elevating this issue. John's raised his voice as well. Tell everybody who you guys are.
Chad Jones from Senator Thun's office on 85th Street.
Go ahead and say it again, since I talked.
Bruce Jones from Senator Thun's office in Sioux Falls.
Chad Creer, work for U.S. Senator Mike Rounds.
Okay, so my number, you're gonna have questions either on your specific situation afterwards, or maybe something else like pharmaceuticals. We want to help you. Casework is a huge part of what we did. I want to help you, but if there's a line around me, you can grab one of these folks as well. So come, Chelsea and Reed, come this way. Come on, get everybody. Jay, come on, so they can see who you are. All right. Just introduce yourselves, and they can get a good look at you and grab you afterwards.
I'm Kristen. I'm Dusty's Communications Director.
Chelsea, I work in Sioux Falls State Operations.
Mason, I'm Dusty's legislative assistant. I handle the postal portfolio.
Jake, I'm a new intern and student at Augie in Sioux Falls.
Reed Rasmussen, constituent service rep out of our Sioux Falls office.
Okay, so let's close this up. I think we've heard a lot of pieces of truth. We have heard that mail is the foundation to commerce. We have heard that this is a prairie fire. We've heard that this is unacceptable, and that's all true. We've heard that leadership and accountability matters. I would say that, as Mr. Sessions mentioned, Louis Joy is gone. Now, he did have a 40-year career in logistics and freight. He was this private sector expert that was supposed to fix everything. It's not working like he envisioned it, and he's not at the Postal Service anymore. But I would say this: we need accountability. David Steiner is the new Postmaster General. He's been there since July of 2025. I think we realize he has inherited a mess. But in our report that we're going to give to Mr. Sessions and to the Postmaster General, I'm going to say you're on the clock. 1 year in the job should have been enough to show real and meaningful improvement and a real plan on the path forward. And Mr. Steiner, if we don't have meaningful improvement by July of 2026, I'm calling for your resignation. Now, that is still a long opportunity to get him and the rest of his leadership an opportunity to try to make things right by South Dakota. And I promise all of you, if you give our team your names, when we get Mr. Sessions out here, we're going to make sure you have an opportunity to be invited to that as well. With that, this stuff matters. Raising the volume and making it clear what is acceptable after all of us have tried to handle it in a more quiet, Germanic, Lakota, Norwegian way. Now we're amping it up a little bit. And we're going to continue that because we know that South Dakota deserves better. Thank you, everyone, for coming.